Is the Saturday morning live stream at Garden Like a Viking headquarters. And let's see. Oh, Graham, good to see you here. It's been a while since maybe you're complying now. Good job. What is this already right out of the gate? Mick, 1999. Thank you very much for the tip, my friend. Very nice. Right out of the gate. Appreciate you. Let's see. Finally, David says, finally made a Saturday live show. That's right. Mick Hegarty, good morning from Colorado. Cutting up milk jugs as I listen to the live. All right. So you're getting some things started with the winter sowing method. And we still have plenty of time for the winter sowing. Even though you wouldn't really know it, around here it's been very, very warm. This is, we're in northern Indiana, zone 5B, 6A. And it's been an unusually warm winter, for sure. And my garlic right now is like 6 inches tall already. And it shouldn't be that tall for like another month, actually. So, yeah. But we are supposed to get down to 16 next week or in like a few days. And so I think I usually just let the garlic go. And garlic is super hardy, but 16 degrees Fahrenheit is getting down there, even for garlic. So I might throw a bed sheet over it. Maybe I'll pound some rebar into the grounds at an angle and then put a couple of ribs of maybe half-inch PVC into that rebar, and that's going to help to keep the blanket off of the garlic. Even though it probably would be fine, I just don't want to take the chance because because it's so tall already, the garlic looks so good and healthy after I put on that application of wood ash a couple weeks ago, and it's nice and dark green. It wants to grow. It wants to grow good and strong and nice and thick leaves on it. And I don't want to lose all that progress. And so even though I'm quite sure it could take 16 degrees Fahrenheit, I think I'm going to go ahead and protect it during that night by putting just a bed sheet over it, a couple bed sheets. Okay, let's see here. Oh, and I wanted to say, you guys still got time. If you didn't plant the garlic in the fall, go ahead and plant it in the spring. I did it that way for a number of years, and you will still get bulbs of garlic. Well, some of the garlic might not separate all the way. If it never freezes, if it never gets a few days where it's froze, where it like freezes, then the garlic is not going to separate, and it'll just be like one giant sort of clove, which is still really nice, actually. It's easier to peel. So go ahead. If you haven't planted garlic yet, as soon as the soil is not frozen, as soon as the soil is workable, then get your garlic, bust it up, plant it, pointed end up, just like the bulb sits. Go ahead and plant spring garlic, pretty much in the same way that we would fall garlic. You just plant it in the spring. It typically won't be as big, but that being said, I've had some years where I've had full-size garlic that I planted in early April. So you can go ahead and try it. You've still got time. Let's see. Tirza says, good morning, Nate. Planting a row of red Ishalium garlic now while I listen. Nice. What is that? Yeah, I haven't gotten into like the super specialty garlics and stuff like that. I mean, I've experienced them all over the world, of course. And at farmers markets, especially in Northern California, all those places they got killer farmers markets. But I've just grown the stuff that I got from a farmer market around here, and so I've grown that year after year after year. I've got a variety from a friend though, actually. Jerry, his wife gave me some, and I went ahead and planted it in the back, so I am very excited to see, because it has been in their family, I guess, for some time, and they've been growing it year after year, and so it becomes regionally adapted, which is really good. So yeah, you got to get in on the garlic, guys, because I use it every time I cook, almost. I use it all the time, and I've still got a bunch of bulbs of garlic in the basement. They store all winter long, no problem, and very, very good for the life force and the health and the vitality, all that stuff. Garlic is good for all of it. And it's one of the ultimate storage crops because it just lasts and lasts. So like I said in the beginning, if you didn't plant it yet, go ahead and plant it now. You still got time. Mark says, morning, Nate. Greetings from Wellington in New Zealand. All right. So you are approaching the sunset of the season. Is that correct? You are approaching the fall time. So now is when you will be wanting to add fertility to the soil. And you want to contemplate, am I doing a cover crop or am I fertility adding? And it's typically best to alternate the two. 1 year, do a cover crop of a winter rye or a winter wheat mixed with a clover of some kind. In New Zealand, I'd say crimson clover because it doesn't get brutally cold in New Zealand, right? So I would say a crimson clover with a winter wheat or a winter rye would be a good cover crop. Or then the following year, you would do fertility adding, which is adding the manures and the leaf mold and stuff like that. So you alternate those 2 years, and that's a really good system to have. So now is the time when you'd be doing that. You would also be, because if it's the fall of your season now, you would also be collecting the residue, the crop residues and stuff, and you'd be putting them into your barrel of liquid fertilizers. Yes. Jerry, hello. I was just talking about you and planting that garlic that you guys gave me. Jerry says, hi, all North Spore mushrooms cooked in home, rendered tallow is terrific. Oh, yes. Making good Viking progress, and also just inoculated logs with shiitake for the future harvest. All right. See, Jerry is still on the mushroom train for sure. And I'm on the mushroom train as well. Just ate some blue oysters yesterday or a couple of days ago. And got some lion's mane in the tub that are just starting to fruit. So I am really excited for it. And we are going to do another mushroom excursion on the channel this spring. We're going to inoculate wood chips with the wine cap. Okay? So I'll get all that set up, and I'll find pretty much just use the same links in the description. Go there, find the wine cap mushrooms, and get you a bag. Because we're just going to inoculate. It's so simple, but I'll make a video about it. But we're just going to inoculate the wood chips, guys, and you will have wine cap mushrooms for a very long time by doing it this way. So, Mom Computer says, give Nate a thumbs up, folks. One way to thank him for all he does for us. Only a quarter of the people on here are grateful? ? Come on. Thank you very much, Mom Computer. I appreciate your enthusiasm always. And yes, everyone remember to give it a thumbs up. I'm seeing 36 thumbs up, so we're pretty good. Let's see here. Mick says, we found a Nesco dehydrator at the thrift store for $10, so I've been dehydrating my North Spores. Nice. That's a good way to do it. Elizabeth Hurtado, Blue Oyster Cult. I know. I can't help saying that name without hearing the Reaper, song. Cecily, hi from Western Australia. Hello from Midwestern USA. Ms. P, good to see you here. Eating my Martha Washington asparagus after patiently having waited 3 years to harvest. Nice. You're eating them now? Where are you at? Okay, Jay Dixon, welcome. Says, good afternoon to all from Huron County, South Ontario, Canada. New to Garden Like a Viking. Welcome, my friend. And so you probably got snow on the ground still, right? Is that right? Let's see here. Diametri says, not ungrateful, Mom Computer, just don't like opening accounts for YouTube. You have to have an account just to give a thumbs up? Is that right? I didn't know that. I thought if you were watching it, you could give it a thumbs up. So let's see here. David Lethoff. I'm doing an experiment on planting pea and Brussels sprout seeds in the garden and covering them with clear solo cups, just to test to see what happens. Zone 6A. Yes, that can work. But the thing with those miniature type greenhouses like that, you have to make sure that you remove it during the daytime, because the moment the sun hits it, it will get to 200 degrees. I mean, it will cook the plant, unless there's some kind of ventilation system or something. But if you just have a clear glass or plastic dome or something like that over the plant, when the sun hits it, the temperature, boom, will shoot way up. So just be aware of that. Let's see here. Jay Dixon says, we specialize in snow, almost experts next to the northern Canadian natives. Oh, I bet, man. Bunch of snow. Rhonda Williams says, in the process of making my second batch of labs, but anxiously awaiting the cheese the most. I know. Don't forget to give it a little sea salt, and then you can add, I do it with the fermented tomato, guys. And I gotta tell you, man, if you are not getting on the fermented tomato train, then please do so, because I'm still eating the fermented tomatoes, and they just staying in the basement on the shelf, shelf stable, no refrigeration, and they're still awesome. And This is actually the first year that I've had some this late in the season because I've always eaten them all. But I did so many of the purple bumblebees this year that now I actually have some left, and they're just as good. I mean, they are so delicious and tangy, and full of bursting with life and life force and probiotics, all of that good stuff. So if you take one of those and put it on the farmer cheese, whoa, look out. And so let's see. David says, "Thank you, Nate. Didn't think about that." Yes, that's correct. Let's see. Dimitri says, "You can give a thumbs up for free. I just don't want to open an account to donate. Doesn't mean I'm not grateful, however." Yes. Oh, no one is saying you're not grateful, Dimitri. I know you're a regular viewer and energetic supporter. And you guys can just, if you want to support the channel and you don't have the means to donate or whatever it is, doesn't matter. Just share the videos. Share the videos to your Facebook groups or wherever you are a part of. That is what helps. That is really what helps, because what it's all about to me is growing the reach. You know, growing the knowledge base of people that we can draw from when we need to know something, and getting more people involved with growing their own stuff. That is what it's all about, and sharing the passion that I have for this, you know? So that's really what's most important to me. Let's see, Jordan says, "My lab cheese smells of vinegar. Still, have I done it wrong or not strained enough?" I'm not exactly sure. If it smells like, it kind of smells like vinegar. It could to some people. More like feta cheese. It smells like, that Greek type of cheese, it smells to me very much like that. So you'll have to be the gauge. But no, only if it smells like rancid is it not good. Or if there's some kind of mold growing on it, then it's something happened. But other than that, no. It's a living organism, my friend. So it's prone to have many kind of variations. But in general, it should smell appetizing. It shouldn't smell rancid, foul. A little bit sour, yes, definitely. But Tushi says, "Howdy from central Kentucky." All right. Joshua says, "Hi, Nate. Should I adjust the JMS procedure at all to use sweet potatoes? Had good results with russets, but no success using sweet potatoes. Any thoughts?" Yeah, okay. So if you're making the JMS, there can be so many factors involved. And it can be the temperature, if you didn't let the water off gas enough, if it was from the tap, the chlorine or the chloramine now that doesn't even off gas, that can affect it. Also, the state of your leaf mold can affect it. But if you are, I've used both. Regular potatoes and sweet potatoes, and you can definitely use both. Now, maybe you didn't get it fine enough, so you want to boil it till it really mashes, till it can just mash up. And then you don't have to put it in the blender, but I always like to put it in the blender for a few seconds because it just makes it really available. But then pour it through the strainer, okay? And make sure all the other factors are right, the temperature being primary. So that's what's most important, guys. Ms. T, hello, good to see you here, my friend. Greetings, Nate and fellow natural food growers. Here at work, trying to catch a quick listen. Well, here we are. Let's see here. And I'm making for the... Okay. Thaj, is that your name? Says, "Hi, Nate. I'm following your JMS video, and I'm in the process of making JMS for the first time. I'm also wondering if there is any way to store potatoes if I don't have a basement." You want to store them in as cool a place as possible because the potatoes, number one, keep away from light. Light is what makes them want to sprout and shrivel up and go bad because they think it's time to come out of dormancy. So you want to mimic as close as possible the conditions that a potato would experience underground, okay? Because that's what a potato does. So it grows and it captures the sunlight, the green part above the earth captures the sunlight. And then it produces more tubers where it stores that captured sunlight so that once the frost comes and the plant dies, the above ground part dies, or whatever, the life cycle of the plant is over, and that falls to the ground, then the tuber, the potato, stores the solar energy and the minerals that it needs to produce more life again next season when the conditions become right. And so it can store nice and solid all over the non-growing season, so long as it thinks it's still under the ground for the most part. So that's why we leave the soil on them, so that the soil microbes can communicate with the potato and make it think it's still in the soil. That's why we don't wash them off. That's why we keep them in the dark and as close to earth temperature as possible. So whatever you got to do to make that happen is what you got to do. So you can even make like there's all different methods I've used, guys, and I've seen as well of as far as like digging up, digging a hole. You can make like a sort of a makeshift root cellar. That kind of thing can happen. You can do it with a metal trash can with some straw on the ground. There's all different kinds of methods, but it's all operating under the same principle. You have to keep them as close to the conditions as they would experience underground. Let's see here. Queen RB says, you can like if you have a YouTube account. I always like, and I'm teaching a series of garden classes in person. And Garden Like a Viking is suggested watching. Southern Oregon here. All right, guys. Thank you. Yes, I'm glad that you are suggesting people watch the videos because it's nice and digestible to people. That's my whole sort of goal and philosophy, is to make it so that, okay, you can acquire this knowledge. It's not, because some of the soil science and stuff like that is so like out of reach to a lot of people. They just glaze over when you start talking about the nematodes and the arthropods, and then they go into the soil at the pH of 4, 6, all this technical stuff is people are just like, oh yeah, okay. But if you can just like put it into bite-sized pieces so that people can relate to it and go, oh, okay, yeah, now I understand. Now it makes sense. It's just a web. Everything eats the other thing. And each stage along the way, nutrients become available. That's all you need to know. You don't have to actually understand the exact names of everything and the exact chemical processes and all that. I do because I'm into that, but you don't have to be into that. And okay, let's see here. Although I would like you to do a series on the soil life web. Yes, I should do that, shouldn't I? I think that I might, there will be some opportunities maybe with a college nearby, and Jerry knows about this, that maybe I can do a couple of like seminars, and that would be really good. That would be really beneficial for the students and also for the content, because I would film it, and me and Jenny would be doing it. And so then we can make a series out of that, which would be great. Okay, let me see. And Shalma Ahad says, hi, Nate. When I opened the lid of my compost bin, I noticed lots of white flies, slightly bigger than gnats. Is that normal or cause for concern? That is nothing to worry about, my friend. When it comes to composting or liquid fertilizers or any of that kind of stuff that we're doing, you're going to see all different kinds of organisms, all different kinds. And they will, some of them will be things you've never seen before. Some of them will be crawling. Some of them will be in the form of molds and slimes and all of that. And yes, all of that is fine, because that's that's what does the decomposition. Everything plays a role. Okay. So really, you see, nature compost stuff, composts everything. So nature never mixes greens with, you have to have 30% green and 70% carbons, and then you have to turn it every 2 weeks, and then you have to do this and that. You can do it that way if you want to make a certain end result, but you actually don't have to do any of that. You have, because nature just throws everything on top of each other and it decomposes. And now it will take a little bit more time, of course, but yes, you can do it that way, not a problem. And let's see here. Xavier says, every time I plant a cucumber, it's always gets attacked by powdery mildew. Okay, so then that typically is a thing of the environment that you're growing in. You've got them probably, 1, too crowded. 2, they could be too close together, and so they're not getting enough airflow. That's really can be a primary. They're not getting enough airflow, and they're getting too much moisture on the leaves. So those can be factors. And also, powdery mildew is present already in the soil. It's present everywhere. So but it can only attack an unhealthy plant. So the plant is sort of unhealthy if it gets it. Although cucumbers, to a certain degree, will just get powdery mildew. I mean, almost no matter what. So, because cucumbers are one of those things that are a very short-lived plant. So you plant it and boom, it grows really fast and it produces a bunch of cucumbers and then it dies off. And it's not meant to be nursed along all season long. So cucumbers are really good to succession sow. And that's how you keep them healthy, because pretty much always towards the end of the season, they catch something, powdery mildew or the downy mildew or things like that, or the cucumber beetles attack them. So the best way to prevent against that, number one, is to have thriving, healthy plants. And you do that by having a thriving, healthy soil food web. Number two, you want to space them out correctly so that they're not crowding each other out. And you want to make sure they're getting enough airflow, and enough direct sunlight. Let's see here. Nick says, how do you feel about IMO collecting versus JMS? Seems Jadam is simpler, but I wonder if the KNF IMO collection is stronger colony-wise. Yes, the Jadam system is really a distillation of the KNF because... well, I'm sure you know of the lineage, and the founder sort of KNF was the father of Young Sung Chao, who is the founder of Jadam. And so really, we're doing the same thing in a lot of ways. And so with the rice box, and that's how we did it. I started doing it that way in Northern California and stuff. And that's a really good way to do it. Especially if it's like in a national forest or something like that, where you can't be removing the leaf mold, you know what I mean? So, because you're not removing anything that's the main benefit, really, in my mind, is that you don't have to remove anything with the rice box IMO collection. And you're still capturing virtually the exact same things. In my opinion, though, the leaf mold is going to have more diversity because it's its natural state. And it's just... why complicate something? You're already going to get a huge plethora of the microorganisms with the JMS. Now, the primary benefit to the IMO collections, though, is its shelf stability. That you can, once you get it all the way to the 4, you can store it. It's shelf stable at that point, which is great. But then that's only if you need it to be that way. Why not just make a fresh batch of JMS that's bursting with life and thriving, and you can tell exactly when it's at its peak? Because even though people say you can store the IMO when it's finished, I'm not so convinced of that. I don't really okay, well, how do we know for sure? We can't see the bubbles. We can't see any of it like we can with the JMS. We can see right there, okay, boom, it peaks. Like once it starts peaking, boom, and then it goes off like that fast. I mean, it's like boom, shoom, and it drops off fast. So we can see that the microorganisms, once they grow exponentially, then they'll consume all the food. Once they consume all the food, boom, the colony collapses, And we could look to our own civilization, and we could see that the population expands, and the food supply is what allows that expansion. But as soon as the food supply is gone, boom, it's done. Okay? And that really drove home this past, when I went down to the South Arkansas Turtle Refuge and did the thing with the stale cracker and Rusty Reed the Turtle Man and Ed the pond professor, Greg Whitstock the pond guy, a number of different other guys. We went down there and moved a lot of these alligator snapping turtles into their new homes because they were fighting, and so we had to move them into a different pond to preserve them and to ensure the survival of them and the reproduction capabilities of the females and all of this. I'm going to make a video on it. It was super interesting, super cool that there was just so many people from all over the country came when the call was made, and it was just fantastic. And I noticed that when I drove from northern Indiana, me and Jenny drove from northern Indiana to South Arkansas, we passed Indianapolis and Memphis. And those were the only two cities that we passed. It was 12 hours of driving through farm fields. I mean farm flat. From here all the way, 12 hours to South Arkansas. it was just flatness. And as far as you could see was just farm fields, and the poison kind of farm fields. I mean, it was, if I hadn't already come to terms with all this in my life, then I would have just been so depressed in seeing that, you know. But it's all flat land, and we're talking South Illinois and Missouri and stuff, and then Arkansas. And so that is really just farms from here to there. There was like nothing else. And so it defies comprehension, the quantity, the scale at which our food production system, and what that has to be like. Without that, everything collapses. I mean, I just can't even describe it enough. It's beyond belief how vast the food system supply is. Just as far as you can see in every direction for hours on end. Farm fields, all being poisoned, all being killed, all the life being killed, all the every tree wiped out so that we could make more, every square inch available for farm fields. It's crazy, my friends. It is just totally insane. Okay. Graham says, who flattened it is the question. Well, I know who deforested it, that's for sure, and that is us, because every square inch is once you turn land into a commodity and say, okay, we need it to produce profit for us, then it becomes another commodity and just wipe out all the trees, every square inch of land. From the Mississippi all the way to the East Coast used to be nothing but a huge expanse of old growth forests. Little meadows here and there, of course, but just old growth forests as far as you could see all over the place. This whole area was from here to where I'm talking about. But over the course of the last 300 years, wiped out. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, I'll get off that. Endless Monsanto plants out there, Blue Wolf. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could smell it. Dude, when we were driving by, and I'll do pictures when I make the video, or videos, when we were driving out there, we saw crop dusters with big trails of stuff, spraying a bunch of stuff all over the crops. Crop dusters. Yeah. And it's not far from the Mississippi River. I mean, only a handful of miles away. And the groundwater is like almost at the surface. You can just see the groundwater they grow rice there. And so there's tons of the water table is super high. All of that is going right into the water table, of course. And people are drinking it, and people, oh yeah, it gets filtered out by the earth. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I don't care what anyone says. You can't spray that stuff on the fields and then think that it's going to get filtered through a few feet of mud and rocks, and then we're fine to drink it. No, that's going straight into us, my friends. We're going to look back on these times in decades or maybe a few centuries from now. If we survive like this, we'll look back and think, man, we were so blind. We had no idea what we were doing. Although now we do have an idea, but still we were doing it. It's just, wow. Okay, let's see here. Graham, truly shocking and disturbing. Oh, absolutely, man. It's crazy. Ronnie Wids, Scotland here. Hello, my friend. Vara Venner. Welcome back home. Excited to watch your journey in Arkansas. Yes, I'm going to be making the video before too long. And if you guys, as I said last time, you can check out a couple of the shorts I made on my other channel, Travel Like a Viking. And guys, if you haven't already, check out the Garden Like a Viking Instagram account where I'm posting reels on the regular now, and also the Facebook page where I'm posting reels on the regular about things I don't want to make a full video about. Like, for example, I just the other day, maybe 2 days ago, on the regular, yeah, I said that. And maybe a couple of days ago, I made a short about how to trim the onion seedlings, because I didn't want to make a full video about that, because it doesn't take that long. And so, man, this is cinnamon, cloves, cardamom, and honey. And with a little bit of black tea, it is so delicious. I mean, cinnamon stick. I mean, I boiled it all. Cinnamon stick is just Sri Lankan cinnamon. So I made the short about how to trim the onion seedlings. Because once they get about 6, 7, 8 inches tall, you want to trim them back to 5 inches. and then let them get to about 8 inches tall again, and then trim them back to about 5 inches. We want to keep them about 5 to 6 inches. And that's going to make them, you see how erect they are? And they're nice and sturdy. And I go over them and do this a couple of times. You know, every time I come into the grow room, I'll do this to them. And that helps them to become sturdy, because we want them to be nice and upright and erect and thick, because we don't want them to be real spindly and stuff. When we go to plant them out, we're going to choose the strongest ones. And so these still have probably almost another month. So these are going to be nice and big by the time that it comes time to planting. And we will be able to take these and just lift them out and gently shake apart the roots. The roots of the onions are sort of thick and fibrous like spaghetti in a way. And so we will be able to separate them no problem. It's not like other plants that if you try to separate some other plants and stuff, you'll really stunt them and the roots will break all over the place. But when you go to separate your onions, they don't do that. The roots are really thick and tough. So you just shake them apart, maybe dunk them in a little bit of water, and you can just pull them all apart, and then we'll plant them. And I'll show you guys how to plant them as well. So that's what that is. And so that's why you want to subscribe to or follow the Garden Like a Viking Instagram account, because I will be doing videos like that show you how to keep it trimmed at 5 inches. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but after you trim it, always fertilize it. And so I like to use 1 ounce a gallon of the fish fertilizer. 1 ounce per gallon of the fish fertilizer. And if you have it, 1 ounce a gallon of the labs, because that really helps the robustness of everything, and it helps to mitigate the sort of smell, odor, from the fish, which there's just a little one. It's not really that big of a deal, but the labs will take away any of the odors. Okay. Let's see. Is there any alternative to senna leaf for tea for the master cleanse? Okay, he's talking about my other channel, the master cleanse, talking about cleansing himself. I don't know if I can find that particular leaf in Lebanon. What about prune juice, etc.? No. Senna leaf is the only one. Okay, if you absolutely cannot find senna leaf, then just omit it. Just don't use it. But make sure you do the saltwater flush. But nothing else. There's no other alternative. Senna leaf tea only. So really try to find it. But if not, you're still going to be able to get the cleansing action. So guys, that's my other channel, Nate Muri. If you guys want to know how to do the master cleanse and you want to heal your body of all kinds of different stuff, you want to clean out the sludge that has been developing over years in your digestive system and all that, check it out. I mean, it's totally free. You just get the ingredients and you do it. And a number of you have done it and you are loving it. So yes, you can do that, and that will allow the body to heal itself. Okay, so let's see. Have you ever grown moringa indoors? Patricia asks, and I have not. No. Let's see. RJ says, have you ever experimented with an earthen grow bed? I incorporated a 6x5x14 deep earthen bed with liner and PVC, adding water to the underground watering. I used limbs. Okay, so I'm not sure. Have you experimented with an earth? Is that a certain type? Is that a certain brand of grow bed, earthen? We used to grow in living soil in Northern California. We would make containers out of like PVC and cloth, like landscaping fabric. And well, we had to get kind of clever with it sometimes. But yeah, I've done it that way a number of times, but I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. So, Guto Health says, Nate, I started my fish fertilizer with 4 big catfish. Do you have any idea roughly how many square feet this treats? That would be really tough for me to be able to calculate, because 4 big catfish. So are we talking about, fishermen story big? Are they so big you could barely get them in the boat? But then they're really kind of like that, So if they're actually big, yeah. So if you got a 5-gallon bucket and you filled it halfway or even a third of the way with the fish, and then you fill it the rest of the way, and then you put in a shovel load of leaf mold, and then you put in the rest of the way with water, and you let that digest. After a few weeks, you'll see you could start using it. Although it won't be nearly as concentrated as it will be after a few months. So, but that just, and so use it, and then you can refill it with more water. And as you get some more fish, you can put another couple of fish in there and let that digest. So it's a continual sort of process, and you just keep drawing from it and then adding to it, and you'll be able to tell what is happening. But if you just made it and you let it fully digest, like for 8 months, you just put it in the basement, then that's going to be the most potent stuff, and you're not drawing from it at all. That's going to be really potent. Okay, and that you can do 1 to 100. If you wanted to stretch it, you could even do 1 to 500. 1 gallon of fish fertilizer to 500 gallons of water. That's still going to be beneficial. But I would also add with that, one of the JLFs, like the Everything JLF or the Grass JLF, something like this. Let's see. Jordan says, am I saying it right? Is it Jordan or Jordan? Is it worth putting whole fish to decompose at the bottom of my container plant in the flowering stage? If you're containering garden, I would say if the container has access to the earth below, then yes. Then go ahead and put a fish. It is worth it. And I am going to show you guys a technique that I used for a number of years on what to do with the fish in the tomatoes. You'll see. It's super cool and very effective. But yes, you can put a fish at the bottom if the container has access to the earth below, if it's like a raised bed or something. But if it's like a straight up container with a bottom, don't put the fish in there. It will turn rancid. It will smell. It will just not be good. And I've tried. So, I mean, some of you could get away with that, but no, you really wouldn't want to do that. Let's see. EEK says, my potato plants have exploded after I give them fish JLF yesterday. Oh, absolutely. Where are you at that you're able to grow potatoes already? Let's see. Dennis says, I have trouble with blossom end rot on my squash last year. So does that mean calcium water will solve? That can mean a number of things. That could mean, one, that it is deficient in calcium. So add the wood ash all around it, or to the soil before planting. Watch the video I made about the wood ash fertilizer. Number one constituent in the wood ash is calcium. Second one is potassium. So add that at 1 quart per square yard, or 1 liter per square meter for the rest of the world. Add that around the area that you're going to be growing, and then yes, make the water-soluble calcium with the vinegar and the eggshells and apply that regularly. But also what it could be, okay, so that will take care of the calcium, okay? And remember, eggshells crushed up and put into the garden do not do anything. I know this goes against Pinterest and it goes against all the people that regurgitate that information and stuff, but it takes years for eggshells to become plant available. Now, a lot of people try to argue with that and say, no, they disappear after a month. No, they don't. They just appear to our eye to disappear because they absorb the color of the earth, but they do not break down to become plant available for up to years, guys. It can be multiple years, and I've seen all different kinds of experiments with this. I've done the experiments myself. I've read the literature. This is how it works. Okay, you don't crush up the eggshells and think that this season I'm going to have any effect whatsoever on the plants. The only thing that crushed up eggshells do though is give grit to the earthworms. So that is very beneficial. Yes, if you powder it, you can put it in there. The earthworms will consume that as grit. So if you got like a worm farm or something, but yeah, that's a myth. Adding eggshells to the garden is going to in any meaningful way impact the calcium. But then now the second thing, let me finish that. The second thing is that you may have incomplete fertilization. So you want to make sure that you got plenty of flowers to attract pollinators in the area. And so because that can happen, that can also be an effect. If the blossom end of it starts to rot, that can be a sign of an incomplete fertilization. And so you want to do everything you can to attract the pollinators. Put the flowers right up in the mix of everything. And also you can do the paintbrush method where you take one of the male flowers, and maybe I'll make a video on this in the future. You take one of the male flowers, and the male flowers are the ones that have like a stem, and then you'll peel back the flower and you'll see there's like a little thing like this, and it's got pollen all over it. And then now you'll take that and you will gently paint the interior of one of the female flowers. Now the female flowers are the ones that do not have the long stem. They just come right out of the plant and they have a flower. And that's the female. And so you want to take the male one, pull it apart, and then just brush it around the female receivers. And that is going to ensure a full-on fertilization. It's still not as good as bumblebees doing it, though, in my opinion. I mean, it's still, by far, the natural way is the best. So just do whatever you got to do to attract the pollinators. And that means plant flowers. And don't use chemicals. But there was a couple donations. I got to go up and see. What was the one? I missed one way up here. Let us see here. I know it was here. Let's see. And hard to say, man, a lot of you guys today. This is awesome. Ms. P, $5. I thought I saw it, my friend. Thank you very much. Teaching how easy it is to garden with nature. You are making a difference. Thank you very much. That means a lot. I appreciate that. And yeah, obviously there's a lot of people into it. So that is what it's all about. So let's see. Just Ride Equestrian Sports says, hi, this is Amy from Montana. Hi, Amy. What about general soil pH and pH of growing blueberries? Ooh, guys. Should I? Well, okay. I can't. I just made a video about the pH, the wood ash. So watch the wood ash video because I won't go into the whole pH rant right now. I do that often, but watch the video I made about applying wood ash to the garden, and that is going to answer your pH question, okay? Because essentially, soil pH doesn't really matter, and the plant can adjust the pH of the soil that it needs around the rhizosphere, the area immediately surrounding the root, and that's all that matters for as far as pH of soil, and the plant can do that itself. So that is another sort of misconception, that is sort of industrial ag type mentality of farming, that we have to adjust the pH of the soil, which we don't. Nature never does that. And the plants can do that themselves. I explain it fully in that video, so check it out. Let's see. Gary Taproot, that's a good last name. Would the seedling fertilizer you made a video on work for the onions, or do they need something like the fish fert? No, the seedling fertilizer will still definitely work for that. Yes. It's the seedling fertilizer video that I made was really geared towards the absolute beginners, and so because not everyone wants to make all these fertilizers, and not everybody has made them. So if you haven't made the fish fertilizer already, then well, that takes time. So then use the method that I showed you, basically compost extract. Let's see here. James Shaw says, hey, Nate, have you grown wheat? And do you have any videos of tips on it? Yes, I've grown wheat, and it grows very easily, and you plant it in the fall, and it's a wonderful cover crop. The only issue for me is harvesting it. It is very laborious because our ancestors either had equipment or a village full of people. And so if you don't have one of those two things, industrial equipment or a village full of people, it's very, very difficult to harvest in any meaningful quantity the wheat. But try it. It really doesn't need much. I mean, if you've got decent soil, it doesn't need much. You can also interplant it with a clover to help restore poor soil and stuff. So let me see here. Okay. There was another one. I know. Okay, here we go. Taida Henna. Thank you very much, my friend. $10. Looking like a swamp Viking. All right. Swamp Viking. Good, sir. It's a good look. Thank you. Yes. I'm trying out, and this is more like how I like to dress, actually. So happy to make it to Alive again. Thanks for the knowledge and your time. You were very welcome, my friend. Thank you for the tip. You guys, she's also got a Instagram account. She does henna, you know, the hand art and stuff like that. Very, very beautiful. She's very good. And I know this because I spent a number of years in India and I saw henna all over the place and everyone's doing henna. And so I know what good quality henna looks like, and she's very good. So check out her Instagram. Let's see. No Way says the eggshell brew is so much fun. Oh, I know. It's so great. I mean, you really feel like a mad scientist when you're, okay, pour it in there. It's like one of those volcanoes when you were a kid, you know, in the science fair and stuff. And then you get to see the bubbles and then you get to test it and check on it and stuff. And you know that it's converting the calcium carbonate to the calcium acetate and carbonic acid is being released. It's super cool. So, exactly. I see what you did there, Tree Rogi. Does anyone grow show leeks in here, guys? Ronnie Wid from Scotland says, does anyone grow show leeks? You mean you're talking about showing them in like a competition? That would be no. We don't, my leeks don't do all that good around here. Gloria says, man, I just can't get over how good this stuff is with this, whoa. It is the cinnamon stick, the Sri Lankan cinnamon stick that is just delicious. So Gloria says, Gloria Padilla, for the potato grow bag method to prevent the leaves from blowing away, I am thinking about placing the leaves in the bag at the bottom of the bag, then filling it with the organic soil. What do you think? That can work. Yeah, that can work. There really isn't much need though. If there isn't much need to put the leaves in the bag, you can, but the whole point of having the leaves, the thick layer of leaves underneath is so that, and they won't blow away. Once you put the bag on top, they won't blow away. But the whole point of having the layer of leaves underneath is to act as a buffer for the moisture. And so you put the holes in the bag and the roots of the plants do grow down through them and into that leaf mold. And that leaf mold stays moist way longer than the bag stays moist. You see what I'm saying? So it acts as a buffer because it's totally shaded out and it's in contact with the earth. So really the best way is to put the leaves or the leaf mold underneath. And that is going to really make the best result. Let's see. Okay, EEK says, did that pollination method with cucumbers using a Q-tip. Okay, yes, possible. You can do that. Let's see. What flowers that don't grow taller than 24 inches do you suggest? Or is this about the attracting the pollinators by your squash plants? Because I would say a really good one to interplant with squash is the nasturtium. Because nasturtium is also like a viner. If you get the tall trailing mix, the nasturtium is also like a vining plant, and it won't grow big enough where it shades out any of the squash, yet it will produce tons of flowers, really, really potent, pungent flowers, and they're edible. They taste like peppers, kind of. And the leaves, you can make a pesto out of it. So I should make a video about that. Man, the pesto, the nasturtium leaf pesto was delicious, okay? And so yes, nasturtiums for one, also for two, calendula. Calendula is my go-to. Calendula, yeah, Kelly says nasturtiums get hella bugs. Yes, they do. But I feel that it's because they attract them to them instead of other plants. They're what is called a trap plant. And so things like nasturtiums and calendula, you will look at them and they'll be covered in insects. But your other plants won't be covered in insects because, boom. Okay, borage, yeah, she's right. Borage is also very good to plant, yes. I have found more use, though, out of the calendula and the nasturtium. As far as nasturtiums are number one to me because I can make capers out of the seeds. You can pickle them and eat them all winter long. You can make pesto out of the leaves, and the flowers are edible in a beautiful garnish. So they win, in my opinion. And so you have to make the distinction between a pest plant, a pest trap plant, and one that is infected with insects. So if they stay to the flowers and stuff and off of your other plants, then they've served their purpose. That's right. Calendula always gets hella aphids. That's right. But the other plants don't, is my experience. Taida says, what is coxcomb good for? Is it a trap plant? Coxcomb is not so much a trap plant, but what it does, in my experience, is that it will attract the things like the predatory wasps. I always notice huge numbers of predatory wasps attracted to the coxcomb. And the predatory wasp, I've sit there many times over the years and just watch them as they'll fly around and pick off a little, they love cabbage worms. Those little almost impossible to see worms that are on the leaves of your leafy greens and cabbages and brassicas. They will fly down, pick them up, and fly away. And I'm gonna eat them. And that's what we want. So yes, also they attract butterflies, and the coxcomb are more of an attractant. So they work really well. Bumblebees, actually, if I was gonna say one plant that attracts the most amount of bumblebees, you know, them big wood carpenter bees, it would be the coxcomb. They are covered in the bumblebees. Yes. So I would recommend that. Yeah, I hate cabbage worms too. That's why we make sure we don't ever kill the wasps. I know wasps are really irritating. If there's like a nest at your door frame or something like that, okay, you got to get rid of them because they're a threat to your, well-being. But if you can leave the wasp nest, always leave them because they will go to your plants and seek out the predators. All right. Okay, Lebanon. I'm the senna leaf deficient guy. Okay. Stone Creek says, I have dill come back every year from fallen leaves. Yes, me too. Queen RB says, there are shorter varieties of marigolds, cosmos. Also, white alyssum is great. Interesting, calendula doesn't get aphids here. That's very interesting. Where are you, Queen RB? But she's right. There's plenty of dwarf varieties of the marigolds. My main ones are marigolds of all different varieties. Primarily the crackerjack and the orange Hawaii and the dwarf, a couple of different Persian carpet type dwarf marigolds, and then calendula and nasturtium. Those all work really well, and coxcomb. Coxcomb can be a little bit difficult to grow, but I love the coxcomb. Guys, if you're going to do like I did, a barrel of, so I take my cold training tub because, I do ice bathing in the wintertime. If you've watched any of my other social media, you know this. So I love to do ice training. And I have people come over, we do ice baths, and then we do sauna and all that. It's been awesome. This whole winter we've been doing the sauna and the ice bath has been great. Huge interest in this stuff now. It wasn't like that just a handful of years ago. I was the only one out there in the ice doing it. Well, Jenny was as well. But where's I going? Oh, yeah, and then so in the summertime, I take the tub, the 150-gallon tub, and take the plug out of the bottom so that it can drain, and then fill it with compost. Well, actually, I'll fill the bottom with green grass clippings in the early spring. The first, I'll get some grass clippings from people I know that don't spray, and then I'll put them in the bottom, and then I put compost on top of that. And then I will plant the sweet potato slips about a week after the last frost, give or take, depending on the weather. And then I will plant a couple of coxcomb plants right in the middle, because the coxcomb will grow up to be about 2 feet tall and have that big, beautiful crimson red, brain-looking kind of amazing crushed velvet color. And the sweet potatoes will just crawl. They don't grow up. And so they will crawl out flat and spill out over the sides of the container, and the coxcomb will be nice and tall. It's like a fountain. It's really beautiful to do it that way. So you can definitely interplant coxcomb with your sweet potatoes. Okay. So, okay, let's see. Kelly says, bok choy. Yeah, whoever said that. Let all your brassicas and radishes, lettuces go to flower. Hella pollinators. Absolutely, that is true. Any of your brassicas, once they set those yellow flowers, man, boom, things get to them. Unfortunately here, though, I don't have the space that I can devote to leaving the crops like that. When I get the homestead, definitely I can do that. But here, as soon as something is done, it's got to go out and something else is going in so that it can have another turnover, because we're limited on space here. So for that reason, we purposely plant flowers, you know. Jason says, black flies are cool. Going to attempt to grow some this year. Like black soldier fly larva, is that what you're talking about? Very good. Just make a compost pile and they'll be there. Or make a JLF and they'll be there. Ronnie says, bees seem to like blue and purple flowers best. That's very interesting. Because I find they like the crimson red coxcomb the best. You know, actually they like everything. Actually, one of the best of the pollinator things is the fennel, man. About 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, maybe, I planted a fennel. I started a couple from seed, planted them out front. And the very first year, it was 7 feet tall and like 7 feet around with just thousands of little flowers on it. Magnificent. And I would go out there and you could literally hear the activity. There was so many pollinators on it, you could hear it, which was pretty impressive. And so then at the end of the year, I cut it all the way to the ground. The very next year, it grew right back 7 feet tall. And then I did it again. And the next year, it grew right back. So we're going to see. I think it's going to grow back again. I didn't even know it was like that. Let's see. Yes, Jeremy says, don't forget to hit that like button, friends. Help Nate, help us. That's right. We're all helping each other here. So, let's see. Ghost Dog says, my fish hydrolysate was 2 weeks brewing as of last Monday. Started it February 20th. I don't want to open it because we just got snow. Will it ferment, then stop, or will it keep brewing till too cold to use? Don't worry. It will be fine. The longer it goes is totally fine. So the 2 week thing is because some people needed a fast fish fertilizer. That's why I made that video, and that's why I wanted to show you that technique of that. The benefit of that is that it's fast. It can be ready to use in 2 weeks and fully. You know, that's the only brew that we really add the molasses to and stuff, because that changes everything. But if you have the time, it's best to make the JLF. Also, I make the fish amino acids and the K&F method, which I'm going to make a video on this year as soon as I can get some more fish. It takes pretty much a full year, though, so you make it now for next year. But that produces a really good shelf-stable stuff, yeah? Let's see here. Peter Hoffman says, seems like grade B maple syrup has a different name now, grade A robust. Absolutely, it's all grade A now, which is kind of ridiculous. But it's all grade A now, and you want the darkest possible, the very dark, robust taste. I forget what the exact term for the darkest one is, but just look, and you want the darkest stuff. You want it to really look like used motor oil. Till you hold it up to the light, you can't even see through it. Full of minerals. And Taida says, can we use frozen fish? You can if you have to. Yeah, absolutely. But definitely no need to buy fish or anything like that. I mean, because then it would become, you know, well, then, I mean, do whatever you want, of course. But the best way is to just go out and catch them, you know, because we can use carp. You can use invasive species. That's the thing. If you got like a long boat, you can go out in the creeks and spear some of them. Maybe I'll take you guys along. I'll do that with Rusty Reed. That's what, oh yeah, we're definitely, me and Rusty Reed, the turtle man, we're going to do that this summer, definitely, for some content. I'll show you guys how to do it. And you just stand on top of the boat with a big long spear and we get the carp. Because they're really invasive here, and they kill all the other fish and stuff like that. So you don't want them in the rivers here, in the creeks. So find out what the invasive fish species is where you live, and do a good deed by harvesting them and then turning them into food. A lot of people want to say, "Oh, that's terrible. You're not eating the fish. You need to eat the fish first, and then use its bones and stuff." And it's like, okay, well, I understand that concept, my friend. I understand that point of view, but here's the thing: we are eating the fish. In fact, every last morsel of that fish is going into the soil to produce more food for us. So we are still eating it, okay? So I don't see anything, that's not killing in vain or anything like that. Kelly, another good tip. Man, she's full of them today, or he's full of them. Go to the fishmonger. That in American, that means the person that sells the fish. And ask him for his waste, or any fish market or seafood restaurant. Yes, do that. Double A, hope you enjoyed the trip, Nate. Yes, I absolutely did. I'll be making the video pretty soon. We had a crawfish ball with stale cracker. I don't know if any of you guys know that guy, but he's a real Cajun personality. He was right there in the swamps pulling these turtles out with us. I mean, he's the real deal, guys. He really is. He's not just like a YouTube personality. He was first, I mean, right up in there in the mix, doing in the knee deep in the muck, pulling out these turtles. So it was pretty cool. And then we had to had a crawfish boil, which is my first real experience with it, and that was pretty cool. Ate some stale crackers, and let's see here. Yeah, so I'm gonna make a video on that pretty soon. And Spreading Idea says, can I use potassium sulfate instead of wood ash with other ingredients like JMS and JLF, FAA weekly? I grow in containers and pot. I don't have land. Okay, so potassium sulfate, you'll have to refresh my memory. What is the source of that? What is potassium sulfate? How do we get that? Remind me, please. Sounds like a superhero. Yeah, in many ways. To the people, he's like mega famous down there. Like, yeah, we were working in the swamps, and one of these guys was driving by, just some random guy. He was looking for a hunting lodge, and he was talking with Rusty, and then all of a sudden he was like, "Wait, is that Stale Cracker?" Stale Cracker walked in front of the truck, and he hopped out of the truck and forgot to even put it in park, and the truck was still rolling. Boom! He had to hop back in, put it into park, and then got out there. And, oh my God! I can't believe it's Stale Cracker! Wow! Take a picture and blah blah blah. So I guess he's that kind of famous. I didn't know who he was before I went down there, so I wasn't like starstruck or anything like that, you know. Let's see. Regarding your question to where I am growing potatoes in Lebanon. Oh, okay, that's what you were talking about. Okay, you're in Lebanon. That's why you can be planting them right now. I was thinking, man, it's still way too cold for us here. So here, I'm going to tell you guys a mega secret for growing potatoes, okay? Something that I've found out over the last handful of years is that you can plant potatoes, okay? And after they are done growing, you can just leave them in the ground up until the frost comes, okay? So and this is huge, okay? Because once you pull them up, then begins the clock of when they spoil. So if you plant your potatoes like here, we're going to plant our potatoes maybe the 1st of June, or I mean the 1st of May, because the last frost is 2 weeks away, is the middle of May here. And so we'll plant them about the 1st of May so that, they'll be totally fine. They won't get frosted or anything. By the time they poke their head above the ground, the last frost will be away. It'll be nice and warm. So they will grow in the cool, late May, early June, up until about middle of July. And then they will be done. And so maybe even by August 1st. But then when the real hot weather comes in August and September, late or early September, then you can just leave them in the ground and pull them up once the last frost comes. And then you will have potatoes that will store all winter long. Yeah. So when you're planning out your garden, remember that. You do not have to pull those potatoes up. Everybody thinks that you have to pull the potatoes up. As soon as they're done, I got to harvest them and start storing them. But the clock starts ticking. And so you want to just leave them in the ground as long as possible. Because so long as the roots are all still attached to those potatoes, they're perfectly fine. They're just thinking, oh, we're cool. We're just going to chill all the rest of the year until next season. Because the purpose of the tuber is to store the energy, the life force energy, the solar energy until the following season. And so, yeah, that's the only thing. Stone Creek says, I would be afraid something would eat them while they're in the ground. That's something you have to be aware of. So hopefully you got a dog, or hopefully you got some kind of fencing, or you got some kind of, something like that will take care of the varmints. Because definitely, as the winter starts approaching, the fall starts approaching, the varmints go into overdrive as far as storing food. So yeah, they will decimate the crop. But if you're just aware of that, check on them every now and then and stuff, just leave them. That's what I suggest. So now let's see here. Rhonda says, I have been offered some fish remnants that have been sitting in buckets and already done quite a bit of decomposing. Can I use this still to make my fish fertilizer, or is it already a fertilizer? Okay, sitting in the buckets. Oh, I wonder how long, and I wonder what it looks like. But yes, you can use that for your fish fertilizer. Put it into another bucket, add the leaf mold, and then fill it the rest of the way with water. Okay, so add a third of the bucket with the fish stuff, add a shovel load of leaf mold, and then fill the rest of the way with water. Let it continue to digest until you need it. Yes, perfectly fine. EEK says, I don't have frost in my region. Wow, man, could you guys imagine that? Don't just no frost at all. Wow. So then for you, you would want to plant over what would be termed your winter then. So you would want to, if you don't frost, then you would want to plant potatoes in the coolest part of your year because they don't like heat, but they don't like the blazing hot. But I tell you what does like the blazing hot is sweet potatoes. So long as you can keep the soil moist, then you have nothing to worry about because the sweet potatoes love heat. Frank says, I have potatoes growing tall in a basement bucket under bright light. Wow. Is this your first time doing that? What kind of yield have you gotten with growing basement potatoes? It would seem to me, I'm just saying, it would seem to me it would be cost prohibitive because it would take a huge amount of light to really produce tubers. You might get a lot of vines, you might get some good leafy growth, but the tuber production, it takes a lot of solar energy to make tubers. And so, unless you've got like some 1,000-watt high pressure sodiums or something like that, $300 a month in electricity to grow your potatoes. Yeah, so even though people don't really use high pressure sodiums anymore, that's kind of a relic of the past, now with the LEDs. Megan says, if limited on space, you can succession plant potatoes if you choose early, mid, and late. Yes, this is true as well. You can. If you choose the right kind of varieties, you can succession sow if your season is long enough. Ours in the same exact, are you talking about in the same ground? Because we don't have time for that. Not in the same spot. You could succession sow if you have different plots to put them in, yes. But then, well, yeah. Okay, and Dennis Baker, D-Nice Baker, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, been following since last spring. Thanks for teaching. You are very welcome. Last spring is when we started this channel, so you've been following from the beginning. Well, it's good to, it says, celebrate the first super chat from Dennis Baker. All right. Yes, thank you, my friend. So, Just Ride Equestrian Sports. Hi, it's Amy again from Montana. Hello, Amy from Montana. I'm making the potato mash. Can I puree and freeze until it warms up to grow microbes? Yes, if you have to. Why? Because your potatoes are spoiling or something? So you want to, okay. Yeah, it'd be best you could just freeze the whole potato, though. But you could make it in the mash because the potato is not the microorganisms that we're that we're after. The potato is just the food source. So all we are after in the microbial brew is the starch. And so, yeah, it won't matter. So yeah, go ahead. Let's see. Jason Knight says, folks who live near a lake could call some stiper guides, probably get a fishing license, a net, and cast out for some shad to use in the gardening realm. Probably, definitely, yes. I prefer I like the thing of find out what the invasive species is because we've all got them now. And there's like that Asian carp and stuff like that, there's unlimited amounts you can take. And some of them, once you catch them, you can't legally put them back. And so those are the ones you want to turn into food because they're typically not good eating. So, Spreading Idea says, what your opinion about FAA and Korean farming methods? Fish and sugar, but instead of IMO4, I will try some JMS, some microbial solution liquid, hoping bad smell gone. Yeah, yes, you can try some JMS liquid. You could also do some labs. Now, this is not by the book, but I've done it this way, and it works really well, and there isn't much smell. So you can add the labs. Some people are going to want to crucify me for saying that, some K&F purists, but I've done it that way, and it does work. It produces a really good thing. So if you haven't gone through the long process of making all the IMOs into the liquid IMO, then you can utilize labs. But also add a little bit of the JMS. Definitely. It's good. In fact, you could also just add and I have done this as well, now that I'm remembering, you can just add some straight up leaf mold soil. That's really the best. Just add some straight leaf mold soil on top. That would be perfectly fine. So the KNF thing, the KNF really is more for like the tropics. Fruit tree farming and stuff is very good for that. But for us in the north and for vegetable growing, Jadam, along with other practices and stuff, is the way to go. I don't subscribe to just one or the other or one particular way, because then you get entrenched and you lose possibilities and you don't want to experiment and stuff. I've done it every way possible. All the KNF stuff, all the Jadam stuff, all the other stuff, all bunch of stuff I've made up myself over the years. And that's how you know what works, and what doesn't. And so now I can make this channel. That's why I started the channel last year. Because I was like, man, all this experimentation I've done over the years, growing in Northern California, high stakes gardening and stuff, and all these things I've learned, it's like, man, it would just be a shame to not. It's like there's no purpose to it unless I'm sharing it with people. Then it's like, okay, now it all makes sense. All those, crazy amounts of experimentation and all the effort involved with growing things in certain different ways. And then seeking out the knowledge, all the conversations I had with old school people, countless hours of conversations about all this kind of stuff and the natural cycle of things and old methods of doing stuff. In Northern California, also in other countries, I lived in villages with people and traveled through all of these places. And I was always asking and always observing and all that. And people gifted me with the knowledge. They just gave it to me, and they were proud to share. And I was very, very inquisitive, always observing, always asking, and always making note. So then it was like last year I was like, man, it all has to be like for something, or I want it to be for something. So starting the channel is like, wow, okay, now it is for a purpose. All those little conversations I had in twilight hours and stuff with people and all little bits of knowledge and information, now it can all come to other people, which is super cool. Stuff that people would never have a voice. People, villagers that will never even watch, would never have a platform. So it's super cool. EEK says, I thought Jadam was an upgrade to KNF. Essentially it is. There's no need to do anything but Jadam. And I'm telling you that for real. KNF is typically more for people, like if you get on Facebook groups and stuff like that, man, the KNF people they love to argue. They love to like argue and to be about, specific scientific measurements. And then you got to add this. And KNF can be about like really heavily manipulating, splitting up the growth cycle, the bloom cycle, the pre-bloom, the transition to bloom, the hardening, the ripening, splitting it up into all these different sections, which that's cool if that's what you want to do, but that's not necessary. So Jadam has sort of just distilled all of that and said, look, let us instead use the KNF principles and then look to nature, where everything is simplified. And then we mimic what nature does. Yes? And so that's really what it is. Wesley Snellgrove, hello, my friend, long time, says, also, any chance we can get you to a Discord for your community? I think that would be very beneficial for us all. Love your energy and methods, brother. Okay, so that is I've heard this numerous times, Discord. So what? I don't know what it is yet. I haven't, I'm not super into the tech and stuff, although we are working on a website. GardenLikeAViking.com is going to be up before too long, man. So, yeah, Discord, I don't know exactly what that is. But I've had a number of people suggest that, so perhaps we will do that. Let's see here. Ghost Dog says, somebody called the bylaw officer on my address, but it was the wrong address. So, dang. So she made me clean up the yard, and I grabbed some Kentucky bluegrass and started learning. And here I am a year later. All right, made me clean up the yard, huh? Yeah, I've got a weed violation. A couple of years ago, they thought all of this food was weeds. He said, no, you got to mow your lawn. So I said, no, I'm not mowing the lawn. Because it's food. When I came back from traveling, man, and I was living in the mountains and stuff, and I came back into this, I'm living here because this is a really ideal setup. It just all came together. I mean, it's just working really well. But so I didn't like necessarily choose to be in the city, I mean, not at all. It was just what came up. And so when I came back into the city and I was like, it was like culture shock, man. Everybody mowing their lawns and putting fertilizers on it and stuff, and not growing food, and yet going to the store and then buying food. None of it made sense to me. I was like, what is happening? What is going on? Because I'd spent 10 years either in the mountains of Northern California or traveling in Asia mostly. And if there's no lawns, they're growing food everywhere you can because that's what you do. So then I came back here and I was just like totally against. I was like, I just didn't do, I'm not cutting the grass. I felt like such a moron out there with a lawnmower and stuff, but yeah, I got over that. So, but that's why I got the weed violation, because I just it took a while to fit back in. But thankfully we got a backyard here. I turned that whole backyard into a garden, man. It's a thriving soil. So, Kip Tap, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. Good luck with the school. Although I would hate to see you shift your focus from zone 5 to zone 8. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I've never even thought of that. Yeah. Although we'd be just fine. But yeah, I mean, it might not necessarily happen on the West Coast. That's the ideal climate for me. Wherever there's redwoods or wherever there was redwoods, that's the ideal climate for me, really. But I also love this climate. So if it works out, maybe southern Michigan is where I'll get some land or something like that, because the winters are wonderful too. Especially now with all the sauna and ice bathing, I love a nice cold winter. So, and there's all different kinds of stuff to do. It'll just happen righteously. When it happens, like everything else has happened in my life, it will just happen righteously. Okay. So let us see here. Graham, electroculture, what's your thoughts? Yeah, man. So let me finish the video, okay? And then next week, I'm going to have the talk on electroculture, okay? Thank you for sending me that video, by the way. Yeah, guys, you can email me stuff, if you have like pictures to show me or something, at gardenlikeaviking@gmail. But let's keep that just to things like that. So for any kind of question, like garden related, keep it in the comments of the videos, okay? Any garden related questions, put in the comments of the videos. But if you need to get a hold of me on a different level or show me pictures of your garden or something, or you have business inquiry or whatever, you want a consultation, I do Zoom meeting consultations. We can get you a plan going for this upcoming year. Or we can do an in-person consultation. If you have the means, for all of that, I can come and help you set up a garden for your food growing. I can also, if you have issues with your land, I become quite the expert at discerning what the issues are in gardens over the years. And so I can do that with you as well. So any of that kind of stuff, gardenlikeaviking@gmail. Okay. And hire like a Viking. That's right. Hire like a Viking. Yeah. Consult like a Viking. That's right. Let's see here. Benny Sales says, I love your attitude for real and your way of looking at life. Peace. Thank you very much for saying that, my friend. I appreciate that. Let's see here. You should have dumped what you mowed onto their property. Let them deal with it. Ha! Yeah. Let's see. So we can't wait. Yes, Graham, next week. And let's see here. I agree. Discord, you need to do it right, and he is cautious. Jay Dixon, I agree on Discord, but you need to do it right, and he is cautious. Yes, I'm very cautious about those kind of things. Let's see. There was a Just Me, $20. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate the tip, you guys. Helps me to keep making these videos and stuff because, I'm pretty much full-time social media now, which is crazy to even think about. Because just last June, I wasn't even receiving any kind of compensation at all for all of the stuff. But then the channel got monetized and then just boom. And now it's like, yeah, I can see that this is really what I want to do. And so Yeah, this is fantastic. So you guys, leaving the tips and all that kind of stuff really helps, because I'm not creating a Patreon, because I just don't think that's just not my style, So I just have confidence that whoever wants to be a part of this will be a part of it based upon their means. And so far that has really been true. So, Carla Crawford, can you post your garden plan? I have a similar size yard. Also, do you have other garden plots beside your backyard? Absolutely, I do. I have a number of different garden plots, and I'm involved, or involved meaning the main one doing it, on a number of different garden plots. So yeah, all over the city. And you guys will see this year, because we got the bean sheller, and you will see this year how we're growing a couple of trellis of beans out at my uncle's, and we're going to be shelling those, running them through the bean sheller, and a number of different things coming up. But yeah, this is not the only garden that I have. But here, though, this year is I am focused primarily on growing potatoes, peas for storage, for canning and also for freezing, because I got the sheller, and they're really good for the nutrients and the fiber and all of that. And then, well, I should write it out at some point, shouldn't I? Yeah, I could do some kind of, I'll have to think of how to do that, but yeah, I could do that. Let's see. Calcium absorption is only available to the plants if the pH is correct. That is correct. Yes, it is. But the plant, for the most part, will be able to regulate that so long as there's thriving microorganisms. But so much comes with saying that there's thriving microorganisms implies that you already have the correct type of soil environment to have thriving soil microorganisms. You have to have good drainage. You have to have you have to have air pockets within the soil. You have to have microorganisms. You have to have all of this stuff that you can't have stagnant water. So all of those kind of things. And the plant will be able to produce the pH itself, unless you're doing hydro. Unless you're doing hydro or aeroponics or any of those kind of methods that require any of that kind of stuff, that totally changes everything. Then you have to, pH is very important, of course. And then you have to manipulate it and stuff. But if you're in soil, you don't have to worry about it. Wesley says, I'm also tech illiterate, but Discord, in my opinion, is awesome to use when you are like me and live in the woods and can't tune in live regularly and have limited Wi-Fi internet access. So is it like a platform or something? Because maybe we could do that on the website. I am creating the Garden Like a Viking website, so maybe that would be something cool we could do on the website. Have like a forum where you can just type all kinds of stuff. What do you think about that? And let's see. I'm so sorry. Have to go. We'll watch all later. Thank you, Nate and everyone. Yes, okay, Stone Creek. We'll see you next time. Queen says, Viking, I want to go to your school like yesterday. Yes. Yes, my friend. All you guys, think how cool that will be, man. When there's the land and everything, getting it up. And I will take you guys across the whole journey from start to, the whole process. It'll be an endless process. And all of you guys will be welcome. You can come learn these. We can do seminars where we will show you guys exactly how to brew the fertilizers, exactly how to brew the microorganisms, all that kind of stuff. No way says, I will come help. Yes way. Yes, you will. Ever grown hibiscus? Trying them for the first time? No, I have not tried. Emerald Knot says, a forum would be great. Yes. Jason Knight says, take us spear hunting. Yeah, I am absolutely doing that. I'm going to contact Rusty right now, or well, after this, and say, the viewers want to go spear hunting. Yeah. If you guys are into like turtles and reptiles and stuff like that, you can check out his channel. It's Rusty Reed the Turtle Man. And so you can check that out, if you're into that kind of thing. He's a very eccentric, passionate kind of person. And he's just gotten into making videos. And so I'm helping him to learn how to make the videos, in a way. So check that out. Also, guess what? Jenny changed her name of her channel. It is now, what do you think it is? What do you guys think Jenny changed her name to? It was Jenny Steele Payne, which when we were down in Arkansas, it was so hard to spell that all the time. Everybody was like, so how do you steal and then P-A-I-N? And she was having to go S-T-E-L-E-P-Y, all that stuff. It just wasn't working. So she renamed her channel to Tarot Like a Viking. I know, it's awesome. Yeah. And so she, because it just fits, the Viking ethos fits for us. It's really good. And she's got the Viking spirit, which is the spirit of exploration, the spirit of adaptation, the spirit of flowing with the energies, and seeking out new ways of doing things and not being tied to the old, and the way of generosity and of camaraderie. That is the Viking way. All of that. That's what something like a Viking means. Whether garden like a Viking, travel like a Viking, all of that is with the same spirit of exploration and generosity. So, and strength. The Vikings were strong, but not just physical strength, but strength of character. Yes, and kind. So, Jason Knight, right on. I grew up at the lake, pretty much in the woods all the time. All right. And matching channels. I just love you guys. Yeah. Gabe, what's up, man? Says, hi, Nate. I am using sip containers growing strawberries, and the roots have got into the stagnant water and is growing lots of it. I emptied the water, but I have earthworms in my container. Okay, so you're using the wicking type containers? Is that what you're using? So, yeah, why? Why would you be using those? I mean, you can, definitely, but I'm just curious as to your reasoning for using it. Because nothing can ever beat being in the soil, preferably in the earth. If you guys have all the options available, either hydroponic, aeroponics, crack key hydroponics, the wicking method, or container gardening, or the towers, with all the little other things coming out of them, or raised beds, or any of that, or the ground, always choose the ground. That is always the best for plants. And if you can't utilize immediately your native soil, then make the raised bed. It doesn't have to be raised much, 6 inches to a foot, but leave the bottom open so that the roots can access the native soil. Those two options are by far the best. They're better than any version of hydroponics. They're better than any version of container gardening, than anything else, because that's how they're designed to thrive. And hydroponics you can use if you have specific reasons for using it, specific goals, but it can never produce anything as flavorful or as nutrient dense as what the earth can grow itself. I just have to say that. So, Nate, what compost bin do you use? Man, I got a whole number of different things that I've made myself, and I'm gonna make a video pretty soon on it. There's one that my parents got, or I've suggested my parents get, and it's very nice. It's very nice. And so I'm going to, but the problem here is I have to rodent proof it because we got rats here in the city. Well, we're not really, I mean, I am in the city actually, but it's not like concrete. It's not urban. But yeah, so I need to put a wire mesh bottom on it and then very much secure it, because they will chew through all that stuff and get up in there. And it got to the point where I had to stop using the compost pile because they were just, everything I put in there was immediately gone. They would eat it. So then I took some trash containers and drilled a bunch of holes in them, sunk them a little bit into the ground, and that's what I'm using now. And it works pretty good, but it's not nearly as good as a proper compost bin that has an open earth ground and stuff. But no rodents are getting in it right now, so that's the best part. But yeah, it's best to have a thermal mass. For thermal mass, you want to at least have a 4 by 4 by 4 foot cube, and that is the best. But you always want it to have an open ground. I'm not into the tumblers. Tumblers are only good if you have to, because you are in the city, meaning you have a concrete yard or something. So, but if you don't have access to the earth, do tumblers make sense? Otherwise, you always want connection to the earth for your compost pile. So let's see. You kind of remind me of Cody London. He has classes in Arizona for wilderness survival. Nice. I definitely could do something like that. Living in the mountain for all them years definitely gave me the skills required. Christopher Mennel, Nate. Hi, Nate. Do you have a homemade root growth hormone recipe? Yes, I do, my friend. And I'm going to make a video about it coming up pretty soon. So yes, we will do that. I have a recipe that will help for cloning, a rooting hormone, also just a general root promoting tonic. Yes, 2. So I'm going to make a video about them before long. It's just not quite the right time yet. Queen says, Ground rules, but you can container effectively. Just keep watching this channel. Yes, very good advice. You totally can container effectively. But I was saying, if you have the options, always go for the earth. But if you don't, because of whatever restriction that it is, containers can totally be successful, no problem. It's just different parameters. Let's see. Sub-irrigated J says sub-irrigated planter, SIP, okay, is a generic term name for a special type of planting box used in container gardening and commercial landscaping. Okay, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah. Sub-irrigated. Yeah, that's good. Those are good. Definitely. Yeah, not a problem. How is your ginger doing? My ginger has just begun to sprout, and it is not above the soil surface yet. But when I just scooted away to check on it a little bit, I see the sprouts are coming up. So ginger is very slow, guys. That's why it takes months to grow. So if you just plant it out in the garden, unless you live in the tropics or someplace where it never frosts, then you're just gonna have tiny little ginger. So yeah, you want to start it now. You still got time to start it. Go ahead and start it, but you want to put it on the heat mat. Ginger loves the heat. So put it in the warmest place possible. Even if that heat mat got to 90 degrees, it will love that, okay? Let's see here. And Dennis says, I have 5 3x3 compost bins. Wow. On target for 5 JMS applications. Would it be too much and make things out of balance to dump 3 gallons calcium water, half gallon dry banana peel powder, and 1 gallon a day urea on the piles? Let's see here. No, that would be perfectly fine. Yeah, you can do that. That's a lot of stuff. 3 gallons of calcium water? What are you talking about there with calcium water? You mean like well water, like hard water? That would be fine. The urea will really help those piles to break down quick. And if you're powdering the banana peels, that's going to help the decomposition too. Although banana peels will dissolve no problem. And so let's, okay guys, well, we're getting towards the end. So if you got any burning questions, let's see. Let's see them. And I just want to remind you guys, like in the description of all the videos and stuff, there's links to all different kinds of stuff. There's links to my traveling channel, Travel Like a Viking. There's links to my other channel where I just kind of speak my mind a little bit more. And it's called Nate Murray. That's my name. And check out the Garden Like a Viking Instagram account. Also the Facebook group or the Facebook page, whatever. So check out that as well. And yeah, if you guys got any questions, always remember to put them in the comments. And if you need to get a hold of me, you can do it in the comments or the gardenlikeaviking@gmail.com. But keep all the garden-related questions in the comments of the videos. Anything else, business or whatever, is the email, okay? Yes, bottom watering is always preferable, yes. Shalma Ahad says, Nate, have you made any videos on how to make fish fertilizers? What? Yes, my friend, I definitely have. Okay. Check them out. I made 2 different ones. I might make another one in the future, though. Actually, this year I'll make one about FAA, fish amino acids. Hopeful, Faithful, Fabulous says, or Hope, Faith, Love, okay, says, hi, Nate, the labs I made is almost 7 days and the solid is still not all at the top. How long do you think it's going to be okay to use for cheese and labs? Yes, it doesn't always separate completely, and I'm not exactly sure what determines that, but I'll do 2 batches directly side by side, and one will separate firmly and one not so much. It's just the way it is. So yeah, 7 days is plenty. Once that separation really happens, you don't want to let it go too long because then the cheese won't be good. So go ahead and strain it through some cheesecloth. Okay, set up the cheesecloth with a barrel or a tub underneath, pour it out through there, and then take the cheesecloth and wrap it around and really squeeze it out. And then keep it all wrapped up and then sandwich it between 2 plates and put a weight on top of it and let it sit for a couple of hours until it can slowly press that water out of that cheese. And then put it in the refrigerator. It's still in the cheesecloth, put it in the refrigerator for a few hours until it's nice and cold. Then you'll pull it out and unwrap it and it will be solid like cheese. And then you can slice it, put a little bit of sea salt on it, put a fermented tomato on it, maybe a little bit of dill, maybe some oregano, whatever it is. Delicious. Okay. So let's see here. Let's see. What was your impression of those old Foxfire books you found a while back? Very cool. I haven't got to really sink into it deep though, but yes, very cool. I love to just pick it up and see the old ways, you know. And back they even spoke differently in books back then. Okay, so yeah, I really recommend getting a hold of some, but I haven't explored them fully yet. So. Okay, my friends, I will see you next time every Saturday at 12 noon Eastern time. Bring your gardening questions, and it is time to starting seeds, okay? I just yesterday started some brassicas. That's the first, besides onions, ginger, and sweet potatoes, the brassicas I just started yesterday. That's all I have started. I haven't even started tomatoes or peppers yet, and I'm in northern Indiana, zone 5B, 6A, and the last frost date is the middle of May. So I am probably today or tomorrow going to start the onions and peppers. Okay, so that's all the more time. I don't have anything else started yet. Okay, so okay, my friends,